This episode of What the Tech is brought to you by edX. Until now, quality education or even higher education seemed out of reach for many. Well, now there's edX, an online learning destination where you can take fascinating free courses from the world's best universities such as Harvard and MIT. Go to edx.org/WTT to start learning for free today. That's edx.org/WTT.
What the tech?
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Zarian. Of course, I'm joined by the Denim Bruiser, Paul Thurrott.
The Denim Destroyer.
The Denim Destroyer with an A.
How could you get that? How could you screw that up?
The Destroyer with an A. What does he do? What's his story? What's his backstory?
Well, he was raised on the mean streets of Dedham.
Very mean.
Yep. The lily white streets of Dedham. I don't know.
He could have just been like a nice guy that ended up becoming like a tough kid. He went to he had like bad cousins.
No, like one day
a
his
summer
library
trip.
pass wasn't accepted by the librarian, and then he went south from there.
Yeah,
You know,
that
it's
was
a
it for
typical
him.
story of vengeance and violence.
Maybe that's a possibility for him. Today, guys, we are talking Windows 10. A lot of people have it already.
Finally.
A lot of people don't. I don't know. It came out, Paul. I don't know if you heard this yesterday.
I did. I'm vaguely aware of it.
Yeah.
Vaguely aware of it.
I have had a complete meltdown on Twitter, as many of the viewers know already.
Vaguely aware of that.
Do you
as
know
well.
where my Windows 10 is? Right here on this disk. On this hard drive is Windows 10. And there's a reason why it's not in the computer that I was hoping to use it on and hoping to test it on. I've had two totally separate experiences with Windows 10. One is unbelievable, and the other one is
Also unbelievable, but the other kind of unbelievable.
You know what? I've never had such polar opposite experiences. And one of them was great. The other one, I actually came up with a new catchphrase. It's Windows. It's impossible.
Hold on one second.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Can I have the bottle?
Beautiful. So I'm going to talk about that. We're going to talk about both experiences, positive and negative.
Yeah.
I know Paul has a lot to say
I
about
think
this.
Between them, you will probably exemplify the internet.
Yeah. I
'Cause
hope
that seems
so.
to be
I hope
like
so.
there's not. I haven't heard from anyone who said, "Yeah, it went pretty well." You know,
Well,
most people are like, "Oh, it went great," or it was, went horrible.
You know why I think a lot of people have that reaction, and then we're going to get into it, but I think because it was free and it was available on almost every single PC right now in the world,
Right.
depending
a lot
on
of promises were made.
a lot of promises were made, and a lot of people installed it on multiple machines at the same
Yeah.
time or on the same day, and that's a rarity. And you're going to get a very different experience from machine to machine due to drivers and other things like that. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to tell you my two
That could be-
experiences here.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm
I'll
also
tell you what
gonna-
I heard about that. By the
Yeah,
way,
I'm also going to
it's a bit-
suggest. I'm also going to suggest some people do not upgrade to Windows 10 ever.
wow. Okay.
And I'm one of those people for one of my machines. I should never upgrade to Windows 10 on this machine. So we're going to talk about that. But before we do, I want to thank a great sponsor to the show, a great group of people that have put together this unbelievable website, and that's edX. What is edX? So if you want to learn something new, if you want quality education or even higher education, it's out of the reach for many people. College is expensive, courses are expensive, but there's edX. It's an online learning destination where you could take fascinating free courses, by the way, free courses from around the world, the world's best universities, Harvard, MIT, just to name a few, Caltech. If you go to edx.org/WTT, that's edx.org/WTT. You can sign up, start learning something new. There are over 500 courses from 80 different universities on there, representing everything, representing every country in the world almost. I mean, this is unbelievable. Paul, you're in France right now. You could take a course for something in France.
Something in
Leonese,
France.
maybe Leonese cuisine.
Yes, that is a thing.
That is a thing, and it's a delicious thing. It's very cream based, right? It's a
Yes,
lot of
it's-
creams.
It's also organ meat based.
Yeah. But there's something for everybody there. I want to learn HTML5. I want to start. It's I have the free time to kind of put aside a couple hours a week and just take a course and not feel the pressure of having to pay an expensive, university or doing. I could do this at my pace. I could learn something great. It was founded by Harvard and MIT in 2012. So you know that it's a good group of people. And released as an open source in 2013, edX's mission is to increase access to high-quality education for everybody. This is a great website. And since we started talking about this, I've gotten feedback from a lot of my viewers. And a lot of people have already used edX. A lot of people use it on a regular basis. They use it just to, even if they know something, they just use it to kind of freshen themselves up and kind of, be like, oh, yeah, that's what it was. Okay. It's an unbelievable website. Check it out. edx.org/WTT. That's edx.org/WTT. Sign up there. Learn something new. Give it a shot. It's a great website and a great resource for many things and many courses. So, Paul, this is the moment of truth. Do you want to hear my story and what happened with me?
I do.
And I want.
Tell us the good one first. Tell us the good one first.
So the good one was I have an HP laptop here. It's a couple of years old, about 3 years old. I did the update manually. No, I'm sorry, not manual. I downloaded the exe file from Microsoft, and I just did an upgrade.
And what model is it?
I don't know. I don't have it. I don't know the model. I don't even have it here.
Consumer kind of device.
It's a consumer. Yeah, it's like a $500 HP.
Yeah. Okay.
It came with Windows 8. I had removed Windows 8. I had put Windows 7 on it. It's not a touch screen. It's like a i3.
So
I think,
when you
installed, or an
you
i5.
did the upgrade. Did you choose to keep nothing and basically kind of clean install it, or did you literally upgrade?
I literally just upgraded. I kept everything the way it was.
Okay.
Right? I didn't blow away anything. I just said, okay, keep all my files, keep everything it is, just upgrade it. It was seamless. It was perfect. Okay. Drivers work. The only issue that I had, and I think a lot of people had this, I think because the servers were getting killed, I couldn't do the Windows updates for drivers. So
Yep.
I also had a little tiny issue, because it couldn't do the updates. There was a driver conflict for the video card. So as soon as I was able to kind of push it a couple times, it downloaded the drivers and everything was fine.
Okay.
But I consider that easy breezy success. Yep. The one that was not successful was my Lenovo that I have right in front of me here.
But what describe this machine a little more detail?
It's a Lenovo IdeaPad S405. Okay. So it's a couple years old. Came with Windows 8. It's an AMD A6 processor.
I can already see where this one's south. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I use it to keep myself warm in the winter.
Yes.
Yeah. I just sit on it.
Well, it will run particularly hot under Windows 10. But please
you know what? Listen, if you don't have heated seats in your car, just take an AMD laptop, just put it under you, and just sit on it, and you'll be fine. It'll just heat you up.
Maybe you won't go anywhere fast, but it will be warm.
Yeah. So I lost my mind at one point, and I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I want to do a clean install, right? Like, I don't want anything on this. So my initial idea was to put Windows 10, the RTM build. I had the ISO.
Yep.
Right, which is the final build.
Let's step back from the cliff for 1 second.
Okay.
So you have these two computers. They're both a couple of years old. One was running 7. One was running 8.
Yeah.
Both of them are consumer grade laptops, mid hundreds of dollars in cost when new. But what was it? 32-bit Windows, 64-bit Windows? Was it Home, Premium? What were the version like? What
I believe
do you even know?
I do know. Yeah. It was Pro. No. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So the Windows, they both had Home. Right? They both had Home.
Home something. Yeah.
Home something.
Okay.
So but I had upgraded one to Windows Ultimate, Windows 7 Ultimate. So that one got the Pro version.
That one
right? That's what.
That was the one that worked well.
Yeah. This one had Home.
Mm-hmm. But was it 32, 64?
It was 64.
You sure?
Yeah. But here's the thing. I removed the hard drive. Right? The hard drive. I took it out. I saved it. I put this one in, brand new.
Yep.
I created a bootable drive with Windows 10 on this, plugged it in. I went to install, and I couldn't even get to the installer. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Couldn't get
so
to
what
the
happened?
installer. There was an issue with the BIOS because I had Windows 7 on it at one point, and then I had Windows 8. The UEFI got freaked out, so I had to load all the defaults and pretend that I have Windows 8 on this right now. So I just set everything to Windows 8 because the key is in there, right? It's in the BIOS.
It should be. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be for that.
So my idea
yeah.
is, since it's a UEFI BIOS, if I blow everything away, I have no hard drive. I put a brand new hard drive in. It's going to look at the BIOS for the key.
So this is an interesting theory, and it is a theory that I also had.
Which it does.
It's not.
It
Okay, I was
does.
going to say it hasn't been proven false yet, but there are indications that this may not work.
Yeah.
So how did this
So
go?
I created a Windows 10 key. I put it in. I
Created a Windows 10 key.
a startup, a bootable drive.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry, bootable drive.
Yep.
I keep thinking key because that was the problem here.
No, yeah, USB key. Sure.
I get through the installer and it says, can't install this, guy. Well, why? Because your product key does not match any Windows 10 license. So
yeah.
the license that's in the BIOS,
In other words, it was trying to match the license to give you the right version.
give
of
me the
Windows.
right version of it. Yeah.
So actually, okay, that's itself is very interesting information, because that verifies that my theory, which was that it would check
It would check.
against
And
the
it
machine.
did.
Okay,
So I go, that's weird. Well,
but
maybe
it couldn't
I have
find it.
Maybe I have a Windows 10 Pro license. This is a Windows 10 Pro install, but it's not. It's Windows 10.
Yeah,
It's not a Pro install.
that's
I go,
all
well,
I'm
that's
saying.
weird. Okay, let me try this. I have a copy of Windows 8 that I ripped from a CD. It's Windows 8 Home. So I
Let me
matched
ask
the
you something
licenses.
before you continue.
Yeah.
You said that at some point you replaced the hard drive, which
Yeah.
is probably actually an SSD, right?
This is an SSD now. The other one wasn't.
It was literally a hard drive. You
was just-
replaced it
yeah.
with an SSD.
Yeah.
Do you still have the hard drive?
I do. I put it back in here. I have Windows 7 running on here right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say you might want to try upgrading it.
Well, I'm going to get to why I can't do an upgrade. That's a whole separate issue. But I want to get to the install thing because this is where a lot of the confusion lies. And I have figured out that there is some issue with these early, and you tell me if this makes any sense. Because the UEFI stuff happened with Windows 8 around that time. And if you got one of these newer, because I spoke to a couple of people and they had a very similar issue to me. The OEM license on some of these early Windows 8 machines, it has a problem detecting it and seeing it as a license.
Yeah.
So the other option was, so I was talking to Darren, I was talking to a couple of people, and they were saying like, well, you could actually get the exact key. You could rip it. There's an application you could download and it'll tell you.
Yeah.
So
Yep, that's
that
right. And then
OEM key does not work on any version of Windows,
Right,
retail
right.
or OEM.
Yeah, that's been my understanding. That it won't work. Yeah. Oh, you mean? But I meant Windows 10 though. Have you tried it?
I tried it with Windows 8. So I said, you know what? Forget about installing. I'm going to do Windows 8, and I'm going to just try this again. Because I wanted to go through all these steps. You know, I wanted to experience all the problems. I wanted to take the most difficult path.
I might be able to help a little bit here.
Okay.
The key that a lot of those applications grabs is not the correct key. It's not the key from the BIOS.
It is not the key from the
the
BIOS.
firmware.
Okay.
Right.
So that makes a lot of sense.
If you do a search for this, what you need to search for is, find the Windows product key that's like embedded in firmware, embedded in BIOS or whatever. Because what you're going to find is that it's almost like it's protecting the real product key from these programs or whatever.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense.
The Jelly Bean app or whatever you used will find some key, but it's not. It's literally not the key that's in the BIOS. This is something I ran into a few months ago, and I think that's what you're. I think that's
so
what you're
that
saying.
could have been it.
Yeah.
So
It's not the real product.
It's not
key,
a
if that
real
makes
product.
sense.
It just says that
Yeah.
it is not a Windows 8 key that matches.
Yeah.
It's a Windows 8 key, but it just doesn't match with anything.
But it won't. Yeah. It won't work with the retail media.
Yeah. So at this point, I go, what am I doing? I'm not going to go crazy. I had a Windows 7 bootable, USB anyway. I put Windows 7 on this thing. I got the ISO, installed the ISO, blew everything away, started fresh. Windows is here. It's great. It's working. The only problem that I have right now on this is I had so the permission stuff is real. The security stuff in Windows 10 really strict, Paul. Like they're not messing around. Like if you have a driver, right? Like it's an older driver, and it doesn't have the proper signature.
Right.
Sorry, guy. We can't install they're blocking it. So I had to unblock it in, properties,
like an
whatever.
HQL driver or whatever it is.
Yeah. I had to unblock it. The only way I was able to get it to install was through command prompt as an admin. And I installed the application through command prompt as an admin, and it installs fine. But Windows does not like this driver, and it's saying, we're not going to let you run this.
The system that you have now, is it Windows 8 or 10? In front of the Lenovo. What's on it now?
Right now, it's Windows 7.
Oh, Windows 7.
I put Windows 7 on this. I put all, I had Windows 7 prior a while ago, so I just had an image. So I just put the image back on this.
And it's activated. It works.
Everything's perfect on Windows 7 right now, and I'm not. The issue that I'm having is with drivers.
In Windows 7.
In Windows 10. That's why I have Windows 10 here.
Oh, I got you. You're talking about two different drives. In other words, you have the hard drive with Windows 7. You have an SSD. You want to put Windows 10 on.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is 99% of people installing will not have this problem, but many of our viewers will because we are not. We are in the minority. We are the people that fiddle around. I wanted to try every possible way of doing this. I suggest don't even think about doing an ISO or doing the clean. Like on a brand new, like blasting it away. If you have a copy of Windows, install that and then just install Windows 10 and then blow everything away and do a clean install.
Literally wrote this article today. Yep, I agree with you 100%.
It's not an easy path with the ISO.
Right. I was going to say the thing you just described is an easy path. It just takes a little bit of time.
Yeah.
The ISO, the problem is we're on day 2. And we don't actually know what's going to happen. What I can tell you is that during the couple of weeks before GA happened, before yesterday, I had machines that I clean installed, or in some cases, I guess they would have been clean installs, where it didn't activate.
I had the same problem.
And you're like, wow, this is going to be a problem. But, within a day or two, they actually did activate. And I think that's going to happen to people. So there's some people who are freaking out right now because it's not activated. Give it some time. I can tell you that the thing that you just described, upgrade and then wipe it out and you basically get a clean install, will always work. The other thing you can do is upgrade and choose to save nothing. That, in effect, gives you a clean install. I can also say, based on 2 people, I think both on Twitter, maybe one email, one Twitter, there's an old method of getting Windows to activate where you do a clean install without a key. It's not activated. And then you upgrade with the same version of Windows. You upgrade it over itself, and then it activates, which is probably not within the the licensing guidelines of Windows, but that did used to work. There are also some tricks to activation that I used to use for Windows 7 and 8, which I'm going to look at again this week and see if they can work on Windows 10. And I bet they do. I think the licensing componentry in Windows hasn't changed all that much.
So, the licensing is interesting, and I know for a fact in the past I've had. I have a Windows 8 Pro disk. It's an upgrade, right? It's technically an upgrade. I've been able to install that on a clean hard drive, fresh hard drive, with and activated no problem in the past without doing an upgrade. Clean. I couldn't do that yesterday. It told me that my license is not for a full copy. It's an upgrade license. And that was the first time I saw that. So maybe they're getting a little smarter with their activation process. Does that make any sense to you?
None of this makes any sense to me. I'm still a little shell-shocked by some of this stuff. We didn't know until it happened that they were even going to give out the ISOs on day 1. I'd always sort of guessed that they had to based on everything else they had said. But, I talked to Microsoft on Monday, and they never mentioned this, and it was kind of a surprise that they just delivered that, Wednesday morning. So it's hard for me here because I don't have all the PCs that I could normally test this stuff on. I don't have Windows 7 PCs, Windows 8 PCs, et cetera. So, I some of this stuff is a little hard for me to wrap my head around.
Yeah, it's the only thing I could tell you guys from my experience, and I did this for 2 days. Don't bother with the ISO. If
Well,
you
except for one thing.
Yeah.
So, by the way, one thing about the ISO.
Yeah.
The other interesting bit of information about that thing is that there are people who want to get Windows 10 right now, like right this second. They don't want to wait. And then maybe they reserved it back in July, earlier in July or whatever. Not everyone got it on day one, and they still have the reservation waiting. They don't know when they're going to get it. In addition to being able to use that tool to make an ISO, you can also use it to run an upgrade.
Yeah.
So if you got your reservation and you knew it was going to work, you can run that tool, and instead of choosing make setup media, just upgrade. And
But-
so it's kind of a neat way to upgrade right away.
So I did the reservation, but I didn't get the invite. But I was
Yeah.
able to go to Microsoft website and download the tool.
Right, and it works.
And it
that-
works.
that's new. That's new to Windows 10. That never happened with Windows 8.1. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, no, I just went there on the other machine. I didn't want to deal with the ISO. I just wanted to do an upgrade, and I just upgraded like that, and it was perfect. I mean, it was fine. No
Right.
problems. It's interesting how I had totally separate experiences doing a clean install or doing something else. That's the first time. Like normally with upgrades in the past, I'm talking like in the past with Microsoft, upgrades were like the crappy thing to do, and you always wanted to do something. Always wanted to do a clean install. I think it's the total opposite now. I think there's more. There's a lot of confusion right now with these clean installs. You don't need the ISO to do a clean install, pretty much. You could do it within the installer. You could tell it to just get rid of everything and just have Windows 7 to start over, and that's a
Yep.
clean install. That would be the best way to do it. I don't know. So driver-wise, Paul, I'm having some on both machines. I'm having some Wi-Fi issues where the signal's not strong enough, and that's a
Yeah.
driver issue.
Yep.
My internet speeds are cut in half on both.
Really.
Yeah, so instead of getting 200 megabits, I'm getting 50 on both. So they could be. I have to check if they're the same controllers, but there are some driver issues. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. I know some people are having NVIDIA issues with if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, a lot of the drivers are failing, and it pretty much screws up the entire the video card's driver. So you have to actually uninstall it and reinstall the NVIDIA drivers. Again, driver issue. Is it Microsoft? I don't know, but it's probably the company that's putting out these drivers.
If it's NVIDIA, it's the company.
Yeah.
I can tell you that, but yeah, it's a little bit of everything. I mean, so obviously in this case, you've got multiple parties involved. You got the companies that make the drivers that do their own testing. You've got Microsoft that has to do their own testing as well before they can put it up on Windows Update. They can't just, take the word of the company that it works, right? I mean, they have to do the testing too. So I think with the NVIDIA thing, that was a big deal over the weekend. Maybe there's some blame to go around, but this is why they're doing a phased rollout. I mean, this stuff will get ironed out. We're on day 2.
Yeah. So I did. So there are some people that should not upgrade to Windows 10.
Yes, sir.
If you have a slower machine, your experience is not going to be that great. I think we got used to with when we went from Vista to 7, we thought, okay, well, you know what? Look, slower hardware, but look how much better 7 is running. I think Windows 8 is a little bit more CPU intensive.
Really?
Yeah, the HP, it's running fine, but it's not running as quickly. I'm noticing that the CPU is shooting up a lot of the times. I mean, first of all, I like the Edge browser. It's a little bit of a CPU hog
That's interesting. Okay.
on this machine. The other thing I'm noticing is that a lot of the back end stuff, like a lot of the services that are running, like the malware protection that runs.
What kind of graphics does that thing have, though? I mean, did AMD back then have any kind of integrated graphic baloney?
No. The AMD is a totally separate. I was just bringing up the AMD as a separate issue from people that
Oh,
I
I see.
know that have updated. This is probably an Intel,
Okay.
whatever.
Yeah, like Intel HD graphics, whatever. Okay.
I've noticed that the malware protection, I forgot the exact process, that thing is taking up like 30-40% CPU resources on this machine. I actually had to go in the registry and hack it to tell it not to run that part of Defender. I know, I had to do it. I went into,
Wow.
regedit and I started like fiddling around and turning stuff off, and services, I turned some stuff off. And once I turned that thing off, it was really good. I turned off, all the Windows Defender and all that stuff. So slower machines are going to have a little bit of a hard time because these things are constantly running and it's constantly making sure that you're not going to kill yourself on this thing.
Right.
That's the only. If you have a machine older than 5 years, don't upgrade.
Yeah,
Do
I
yourself
agree with
a
that.
favor.
And yeah,
Stick to
yeah,
seven.
because at this point you should be right. Stick with what you have. It's going to work fine with what you're doing, and eventually you'll upgrade the hardware. And at that point, you get Windows 10 and then possibly new hardware capabilities. Like Windows Hello stuff or nice audio componentry for a Hey Cortana or whatever, a touch screen, obviously that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's I do want to buy a new computer now since running Windows 10 because I really like it.
Oh, Microsoft mission accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, isn't that interesting though? I mean, that was the thing that we were
Yeah.
concerned with as well. If they're giving this thing away for free, how are they going to sell computers? I'm going to go and buy a Windows computer. I didn't do it for 8. I didn't do it for 8.1. I'm going to do it for 7.
Yeah. The neat thing is for people who did stick with Windows 7, and obviously there are a lot of them, there's been like 2 generations now of hardware and software advances that they never experienced. And so it's actually going to be a pretty big jump for those people, right? Because Windows 8 was such a turnoff, they probably never bothered to get a touchscreen computer. And even if they did, touch in Windows 7 was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
So that stuff has had a real chance to mature and get better. And then there's new stuff, Windows 10 as well. And so depending on what type of device you get, there's the potential for getting a pretty huge upgrade, which I think a lot of people maybe weren't expecting or thinking of when they think of Windows 10.
So let's talk about what you've heard over the last day and a half.
Yeah, I'm in a tough spot because most of my feedback is not going to be positive, although I do hear from those people too, and it's certainly appreciated,
But are you
but
getting like? I know there's multiple negatives, right? There's the I hate this.
Yeah.
It's different, right? Okay, fine. We get that.
So,
It's
by the
gonna
way,
change.
I'm not really at that point yet, although I do expect a bunch of that stuff. Because I think the more people use Windows 10, the more they use the Edge browser in particular, you'll run into things where you say, well, I used to do that thing all the time, and where is it? And whatever, that one feature's gone, and I think that is going to screw people up a little bit. I think the start menu is going to be a problem for some of those people. Maybe, we'll see. But right now,
Do you
no.
think
I mean,
it's going to be a problem? Because I absolutely love the start menu. I heard people that didn't like it, and they're like, "Well, it was fine in 8.1. It was, whatever was there should have been there."
It totally depends on how you used it.
I absolutely love it.
Because of the way. So if you think back to when Windows 7 came out, one of the big advances, which by the way I criticized at the time, and now rely on explicitly, was the ability to pin shortcuts for applications and also web applications to the taskbar so that you could launch them from there. Before Windows 7, and so we're talking about many generations of Windows, those buttons or buttons essentially for shortcuts, whatever, for applications in open Windows would only appear there after you ran them. They weren't down there until you ran them. We used to have things like a quick launch toolbar, and they had little UIs that were sort of like mini task launching UIs that were associated with the taskbar. But the taskbar itself, that was a big change for Windows 7. I think a lot of people who upgraded across different versions of Windows maybe didn't pick up on that, and so they would still use the start menu for application launching and for finding documents and things like that. For those people, the new start menu might be a little bit of a problem because there's a bunch of stuff they removed. Microsoft will tell you, and they certainly told me that the things that they removed were the things that people didn't use that much. The things they kept were the things that they used the most. But then there's also this giant slab of the start menu that's completely different from anything Windows 7 users have ever used because it's tile stuff from Windows 8.
But you can remove those tiles. You can remove them.
You can, but that's work you have to do. I think I think most people are actually fairly ambivalent about stuff. They tend to keep things around, and so I actually believe, and I'm willing to be proven wrong on this, that most people will leave that stuff running and will never use it for the most part. And it would be very interesting for me to see my own usage data for it, because when Windows 7 came out, I did switch to using shortcuts on the taskbar, and the start menu turned into something completely different. It used to be the go-to place for launching stuff, but for me, it became the place I only went occasionally to launch things I only rarely ever needed. And so if you're one of those people, I don't think the new start menu is going to be a problem. It just depends on how you were using Windows before. Windows 8 guys, Windows 8.1 guys are probably going to be okay with it. And in fact, there'll probably be I'll be interested to see what the percentage is, 10, 20 maybe percent of those guys who actually put the thing full screen just to get it back to the way they're used to. There'll be some of those guys too. So it's going to vary because, it's a pretty diverse user base.
I've gotten a pretty positive, I guess, feedback. The feedback that I've gotten is pretty positive about the start menu. It's pretty, right? And I think that plays a big part in it. And it's there. So half the battle is done, from people that hate it and need.
Yes.
So it's there and it's pretty.
It eliminates a complaint.
Yeah.
You can check it off in a box. Look, it's there.
I personally love it. I have no complaints about it.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and I'm coming. And by the way, I'm coming from 7, right? Like that's what I.
Let's go. No, I'm glad to hear that. Well, let me give you an example. So, and again, this stuff all varies wildly depending on how you use Windows. As a Windows 7 user, one of the things I used to do all the time was launch the start menu, and then right-click on computer, or I guess, I don't know if it was my computer or computer in Windows 7, but whichever one it was. And then you could choose properties to get to the system control panel, or you could choose manage to get to the computer management MMC console.
Yeah.
Those things are gone, right? So now we move forward to Windows 10, and there's no computer icon there. I can't right-click on it because it's not there. So how do those options pop up? As it turns out, okay, by the way, you can do that, of course. But you can also right-click on the Start button, and there's actually it's not new, it was Windows 8, but a lot of Windows 7 guys don't know about this. And what's in there are a bunch of those kind of power user
Task
options.
manager and things like that, yeah.
Right, that either, by the way, never had a place in the UI, or are things like I just described, system control panel or computer management, where there was a hidden place in the UI, and some power users, IT pros, et cetera, knew about it. So now we put it, because the buttons are gone, we'll put them in a new menu that's on the Start button itself. And so it's kind of a cool tip for people if they want to find that kind of stuff that it's a little hard to get to otherwise in Windows 10 or, by the way, in Windows 8. And I think just knowing about that stuff can help overcome some of the issues.
There's always going to be new things to learn, new steps to learn. I think with Windows 8, and I'll give you an example. I was screaming yesterday because I put Windows 8 on this machine and I hadn't used it in a while. And I'm like, oh, I got to shut this down. And I don't know the keyboard shortcut, right? Like I didn't know it. So I'm like, how do I shut this down? I'm like, oh, God, the goddamn charms bar. Got to go to the charms bar, get that thing to come up. Then you got to click on the little gear, and then you click on that, and then you go to. I was like, this is insane. And I go, who the F would do this? And you look at Windows 8, you look at Windows 10, and it's like, oh, okay, click on this. Okay, shut down. So natural. It's normal, right? It's familiar. And that's most of the battle here for most people. Most people are going to look at this and say, oh, wow, this is really nice.
I actually think that's kind of a neat thing about Windows 10 because it doesn't matter if you're Windows 8 or Windows 7 experience. It's familiar enough that you get it, like you just said. It's sort of where you expected it to be. And then there's new to it too, and the new stuff is kind of cool and it's interesting. It's a little, it's different, and different can be scary, but I think for a lot of people, it's got a new look, and that alone, it's like, oh, this is kind of nice. It's a little transparency going on there or whatever. It's nice.
The look is great. So a couple other things that I experienced here. The trackpad functionality. We all know how I'm infatuated with the trackpads on these computers. So this Lenovo, the HP, it's a garbage trackpad. I'm not even going to go into because I was just using a mouse on that one. It wasn't even functional, that trackpad. Yeah. This one is one of the better lower end ones, but this is a couple years old, so they've gotten a lot better, these trackpads. In Windows 7, I'll give you a great example. 2-finger scrolling, right? If I want to scroll up and down.
Well, except for one thing, by the way, before you, just real quick, that's not built into Windows 7. right? Lenovo has
Drivers,
really nice
yeah.
utilities, not just drivers, but software utilities you can run to configure how all that stuff works. And if you upgrade to Windows 10, that stuff's not going to be there. Actually, that's not fair to
No,
say.
no,
If
no.
you
It's
depending on how you install, it might not be there.
So I don't have the
But
Lenovo stuff. I have I guess whoever what
Like
is it, Synaptech?
Synaptics
Yeah,
or
Synaptics
whatever, yeah.
So I have the Synaptics things.
Okay,
Uh,
as long as it's in there, because I was going to say if it's not, you might want to go to their website and grab it. Grab the Windows 8 version or whatever, because there might be capabilities in there. Like you might want to turn off edge gestures on the trackpad, but you might still want to do. There are cool three finger gestures.
Yeah.
On trackpads now for like what does it do? Bring up Task Manager or something, or Task View, and then swipe up to bring everything back. Or there are like you were saying, two finger scrolling and all that stuff.
So I have all that functionality on Windows 7. It's absolutely awful, right? It's barely functional.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going to Windows 10, it's like,
Yeah.
ooh, this is like my Mac.
It's already,
like, it
it's already
actually
improved.
works.
Oh, I see. That's good.
It actually
That's
works. I could, and this is not like a great trackpad. I could do three finger scrolling. I could do two finger scrolling. When I'm scrolling a website, for example, the Edge browser, it's smooth when you scroll rather than it being abrupt and stopping when you stop scrolling. So it's like those little things that are familiar for me for using a Mac where, when you scroll, if you do it hard, it'll like fly down the page if you do it soft. So it knows.
No, it actually works. Yeah.
It actually works.
I'm kind of just looking at it now because it is kind of neat when it works right.
Yeah.
We're not used to
That's going to be
Windows
that's going to be great.
Windows users are not used to things this work.
Yeah, I know. I have a very high level of expectance when it comes to having my computer work, Paul. I am a Mac user.
Right.
I actually I wish I had a computer that was an i7 laptop because I would be using Windows 10 on a regular basis. I think this is I would use it over the Mac at this point.
Well,
Because it's I really enjoy the interface. I like that there's so many different options. You have the App Store, which unfortunately didn't work for me yesterday, but it seems like it's a complete operating system compared to what Windows 8 was and what 8.1 was, and it's making Windows 7 look dated, and it's about time.
yeah.
Windows 7 didn't feel dated, didn't look dated because a lot of people refused to go to 8. Now with 10, you compare these two side to side.
There have been a lot of complaints about Windows 8, and most of them have plenty of merit. Certainly. There were good things about Windows 8 too, which I think people could tend to overlook. But one of the biggest problems I had with Windows 8 wasn't one of the typical complaints. It was more around the nature of they made these giant controls for the UI, like big round buttons and app bars you could swipe up from the bottom or top of the screen to bring up UI. That UI was undiscoverable, and when you did finally discover it by mistake, all the buttons and everything were really huge and really kind of Fisher-Price looking. And so in Windows 10, the Evolved app platform, which they're now calling Universal Apps, these things, they look normal and they look right on the desktop, and they can have complex UIs, and it's not just big Fisher-Price buttons, like a little baby hitting in an activity center or something. And that to me is a huge improvement, and also I think part of the reason why Windows 7 finally looks dated, because I think a lot of people look from Windows 7 will look at Windows 8 and say, God, this thing looks like something you made for children. Like it doesn't seem like a professional interface. It just was. There were some stabs at making nice modern apps that looked professional, like the OneNote app was a good example of that. But most of those things were really kind of garbagey looking, and I think that was to their detriment. That I think it held back adoption of that platform.
Yeah. See. So let's talk about enterprise for a second, right? When you for efficiency and for functionality, right? Windows 8 and 8.1 was not something enterprise wanted. It was not something that they were going to jump to. But with 10, for example, if you click on that start button and you have all those tiles next to it, your IT guy could set up all the applications that you're using and have those in there, and you just click on that and you launch from there. It's exactly what they want. It's thoughtless process where you just click on what you're supposed to click on and not fiddle around.
The other thing that's kind of nice is there were in fact management kind of features in Windows 8 that were really great, and depending on the needs of the company could have been very useful. But these guys in the companies were so turned off by Windows 8 they didn't even bother with it. So here again, you see this example of companies that can now launch 2 generations forward and take advantage of not just the stuff that's new to Windows 10, but some of the stuff that debuted in Windows 8 that they just never bothered with. And some of them include things like the ability to manage a Windows laptop as if it were a mobile device, like a phone or a tablet. It has the same kind of mobile device management MDM capabilities as you would have, like, say, on an iPhone. And so the advantage of that is that those scenarios are really good for the types of people that never bring their computer into the office and connecting to the corporate network. They can blast policy out over the air. But they're also nice because they're simpler. They don't require a really heavy, complex infrastructure. It's much easier to train people to manage this kind of thing, and it's much easier just to manage devices using MDM versus, say, like Active Directory group policy.
Yeah. Well, you know what? So all those
No,
settings,
it's just kind
right?
of a neat thing. It's just neat. It's just kind of a neat thing.
So the admin stuff that I had to get to, I just typed it in. I didn't even go and start searching. I just typed it in to get, like, to administrative tools, or when you go to services or computer management, any of the administrative tools. I had to get into the PowerShell modules for something. I was just playing around with it.
Yep.
It's very easy because you just type it in and it's there. The only issue that I had was that it feels like things are scattered, right? Because you have control panel and then you have, like, the other settings.
Right.
So I'm guessing that's still, like, something left over from Windows 8 where they haven't combined everything into one area.
Well, okay. So I would say, from Windows 8 to 8.1 to now to 10, much more. In fact, the leap between 8 and 10 is humongous in the amount of settings or options that are available in the settings interface, what used to be called PC settings in Windows 8. Control panel, I'm not going to say it will always be around, but it will be around for quite a while. I think as versions go, less and less times you'll have to go to the control panel. But there are legacy control panels that third parties have made. If you look in your system tray, you could have little control panels in there, for your audio, for your video, for whatever. I mean, it's just an extensible thing. Lots of people made, lots of companies made little control panels, and so they kind of have to keep that around. But the nice thing is, you in Windows 10, you really do have this opportunity to go to a single place, settings, for all of your settings. And if you don't see what you're looking for, oftentimes, for example, you can go to, like, the users part of settings, and there'll be links there to the control panel part, which still has a couple of little goofy things that you can't do inside settings. Or if you know what you're looking for, you can just search for it in settings. And even if it's a control panel interface, it still comes up in search.
Yeah.
And so you click on it, and control panel runs at that point. But you really, you're kind of going to one place to get stuff done. So it's not the big deal I think some people have made of it. And it's certainly much better than it was in Windows 8.
Yeah, you're going to get used to it. I mean, it's just something that you're going to play around with. I do think that I think the operating system is great, and Darren in the chat room brought this up. He goes, the OS is great, but some of the stuff is not really 100% ready, like Groove, Photos, Edge. I had issues with Edge yesterday, but I guess this is the new Windows. They're always working on it, right? That's their new thing, where they're constantly updating, they're constantly patching, they're constantly going to upgrade. I'm curious to see how sales go, because putting Windows 10 on a Windows 7 machine for me made me want to get a new Windows 10 machine. I just don't know what now. Now, do I wait or do I buy something tomorrow, Paul?
You wait. Because the machines that you're going to buy today are Windows 8.1 machines that have Windows 10 preloaded on them. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some of them even have some hardware components that don't really come to life until you put Windows 10 on them. But I think the truly exceptional stuff is going to come down the road a little bit, a couple of months at least, fall, Christmas, or holiday season or whatever. Because for me personally, I would want some form of Windows Hello sign-in capability. And to me, that would mean either a facial scanner, which is a special kind of camera with IR capabilities, or a fingerprint reader, which actually you could find today. Lenovo's have those. That stuff to me is very important. If you get a 2-in-1 device, you could today get one that supports Continuum, which I think is a big deal for those kinds of machines. Obviously, touch is everywhere, and that stuff's fine. But to me, it would be Windows Hello is the one I'd want to make sure
you have.
That's yeah. I'm spending $1,000 to $2,000 on a new computer. It's going to have that stuff.
Okay, so here's a great example, right? When you set up Windows 7 in the past, you could decide not to put a password and have this thing automatically start up and go right into Windows, right, without a username and password.
Right.
That is kind of difficult to do in Windows 10.
You can still do it.
You can
should
still
not
do it.
And here's the thing. And actually, it's funny. I still haven't released the first version of this, but I've been working on this Windows 10 book, and in the users and security chapter, I have kind of a list of these are the level of difficulty, for signing in, right? And so the most difficult and awful thing to do is have a complex password, probably associated with your Microsoft account because it's online. And you want it to be safe.
Yeah.
And you have to type in that huge thing every single time you sign in. It's awful, right? 13 digits, multiple, different kinds of characters, whatever. Hopefully you have it protected with two-factor authentication, which adds another level of difficulty. Not to every single time you sign in, but every once in a while. You can ease it, from there. You can do a picture password if you have a, touch screen. You can draw little pictures on your screen, and that you can log in with that, and it handles the password for you in the background. You can use a PIN. PINs are really easy compared to passwords. It's 4 digits typically.
I like the PIN actually. Yeah.
PIN is nice. But what's nicer than a PIN? A finger swipe. The little swipe. It's nice. And if you have a nice accurate one, like if an HP Folio 1020 or any of the new Lenovo ThinkPads that have those fingerprint readers, it's lickety split. It's just really quick. But what's better than that is something like you have on an iPhone 6 where you can just push your thumb to it. It's not even a swipe. You just it works really well. And as of today, there are no sign-in types like that that I'm aware of for PCs, but they're coming. That will be available. But what's better than that is a camera that just recognizes you when you sit down. And it's the fastest thing in the world. And so you've gone from really tedious to super quick. But the nice thing about a facial recognition system is that it's secure and it's encrypted, no data shit, all that kind of stuff. Super secure, right? So it's not just the most secure form of signing in because you still get that complex password with two-factor on the back end, but it's the quickest way to do it. It's better than a PIN. I mean, a 4-digit PIN isn't too hard to someone could see you doing 4 digits and easily.
But they can't replicate your face.
No, there's no way. You can't hold up a picture. You can't make a 3D model. There's no. You have to be you. I mean,
but
I
that's
guess
only going to work on the newer Windows 10 machines.
But that's the point.
Yeah.
And if you've ever used an iPhone 6, for example, like most people, I would say, probably have a 4-digit PIN on their phone. And so, there's a timeout, and so maybe 3 minutes goes by. You have to type it in again if the phone locks, whatever it is. It's convenient, but it's and once you get to like that fingerprint thing on the iPhone, the Touch ID, I think it's called. Once you've used that, like a PIN seems tedious by comparison. And that's what this is going to do. It's going to make these things seem even more tedious. No matter how nice a PIN is compared to typing in a password, not having to type anything is way better.
Even better,
right?
Yeah.
And so the ability to type nothing and still have it be super secure is amazing. And I think it's going to transform not our complete relationship with the computers, but it will transform the way we sign into
Yeah, for me, I need some of these machines in the studio on all the time without locking up, or if it's restarted to automatically go into Windows so it launches certain things. That's why. So what I had to do, I had to actually go into, I forgot the administrative setting, and I had to kind of disable putting in a key and then just having it. The weird thing, okay, so here's another weird issue. I put in so it tells me to put in if I have an account. So I put in my Outlook email, right? andrewzarian@outlook.com. Put in the password, set it up. Windows thinks my name is Andre. So Windows names the computer Andre.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's not on. I think it must be the first certain number of characters or something.
Yeah, so it just says Andre. But I could change it to whatever I want. I could be Paul Thurrott at, whatever I want. But it just picks up Andre. So I have this weird thing where whenever, like, let's say it's like a form comes up within like a driver or something, and it's looking for Windows for my information, it says that my name is Andre. It just says username Andre.
You want to know what the definition of compulsive is?
Yes, me.
Well, I'll give you an example that's similar to this. When I sign into my computers with Microsoft account, it's Thurrott at whatever. Now, back in the day, and I don't know what that means, I mean, Windows 8 or whatever, back when I first started doing this, Windows would typically create a user folder for me, like a folder inside users called Paul, because that was my name. And then that would be the folder. But when I do this now, and this is true of Windows 10, and it became true in Windows 8 sometime, I don't remember exactly when, it actually takes the first 4 letters of my Microsoft account, which are THURR. So it's Thur. So instead of Paul, it turns into Thur. And my folder now is called Thur.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's annoying.
Really? Yeah, so here's how you get around it. The first time you sign into Windows on any given computer, you do not sign in with your Microsoft account. You create a local account and you call it Paul.
Okay.
And then you sign into Paul, and then you convert it to a Microsoft account, and it has to use the existing folder, which is called Paul.
Which is the existing
folder name that I want.
Yeah. So,
right? I mean, it's compulsive.
Okay.
It's stupid. It's
I know,
pointless, but that's something I do.
But you know what? That's the majority of our viewers, right? Those are the people that are going to be annoyed by that. The 100 or so people watching
I don't know
right
why
now.
that bothers me. Like whoever looks at your folder, like
The other, I had another issue with that. So, for some reason, the computer is named desktop 99-KV
yes.
blah blah blah. Why?
By the way, I should have written this up by now. In fact, you've reminded me. I thought of this earlier when you were talking about the name of the account. I need to put this in the book. Windows generates a name for the computer.
Well, it's a stupid name.
No, it's always a stupid name. So, for example, let me bring up my OneDrive, because the problem is that when you connect to OneDrive, it connects that name to OneDrive. So here's another little tip along the lines of the last thing I just said, which is this. Do not connect to OneDrive in Windows 10 until you've gone into actually it's the, not system, but the, what do they call it? Advanced System Control Panel, which is really just a property sheet. But you go to Advanced System Settings, and you can change the name of your computer. Actually, you can do it from
That's
system.
what I did. Yeah, I did it from systems.
Yeah, do it first, because if you don't, you get what I have in OneDrive, which is this: a bunch of computers with names like desktop dash 5J, MM, MK, G4, whatever they are. And there's like a bunch of these. In fact, looking through this list, what I see is a bunch of names. I have no idea what any of these things are, because you can't tell what that means. And then I have one that says Samsung 15, which of course is like my Samsung Ultrabook. So there's one I did right. So here's a little tip. Rename the computer. You have to reboot. Sorry. But once you reboot, then connect to OneDrive, and then it will appear in OneDrive as that name, and it will appear everywhere, wherever.
Yeah.
It really irritates.
I had another bizarre issue. God, now it's irritating. Oh, why does it say that my internet is a public network? Unless you connect to a home group.
Okay. So this is another weirdism in Windows 10. So it's not technically a public network by default. You probably clicked on the wrong thing.
No. I went through the process. What it does.
No, but I think you might have clicked on the wrong thing. I'll tell you what I mean, and you can tell me if you remember this. Actually, I'm sorry. It is that by default. So in other words, the reason it's a public network is because it shares no information with anyone else. It's protecting you. In other words, your security settings on a public network are higher in Windows, right? So the first time you go into network and you say, oh, I want to go find some share, it says, oh, network discovery and file sharing are turned off. Network computers and devices are not visually. And click it to change it. And it turns on network discovery and file sharing, except for one thing. Network discovery and file sharing don't work by default in a public network. Why would they? You don't want to go to a coffee shop and have someone, hitting your shares. So you get two choices. One of them is no, make this network a private network, which is what you want because you're on your local network. Or, why this is on a frickin' dialog in Windows blows my mind. Never, ever, ever select this. But the second one says, yes, turn on network discovery and file sharing for all public networks. Don't ever do that.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. Because you're stupid. That's ridiculous. So it's absolutely okay to make it a private network.
Yeah.
That will lower your security settings on that network only, which is fine because you're home or whatever.
Yeah, you have to set up a home group in order to do that. That's the process. You
don't have to set up a home group, but you can just make it a private network. It lowers some of the security settings that makes file sharing from remote computers on the same network possible. So if you have like a NAS or a home server or other PCs, you can share. You can see what's on the shared folders.
Yeah, I thought that was a bizarre little thing that it automatically sets it as a public. I mean, it makes sense because you have more security, whatever.
That's why. I think the problem is you saw public network and you said, wait a minute, that's less secure. Why would they do that?
Well, actually my network card was freaking out when it was a public network. It kept going into limited access mode over and over again.
Because it was a public network.
Yes.
You think that's why?
That's the only thing that I associated it to. And then when I
Well,
put
let me
it
ask you
as a
something.
private,
So
it
when you
was fine.
changed that, it stopped doing that?
It stopped
That's
doing that.
interesting.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm not having that problem, but my wife was having that problem, and I wonder if that's why.
Yeah. It stopped doing it.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
yeah.
I'm going to experiment with that. I think you might be onto something.
Guys, this is fun, you know. Like I'm having fun with this. I'm complaining. I'm excited. I'm going through every stage of
yeah.
emotion with this thing. But
We're
this is
stumbling
great,
through new software.
But this is great. I haven't.
Yeah.
This is why.
I want to test this, but I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
want to test
do
it
it.
on the computer.
But this
I don't
is
want to
why
test
we
it on
do
the
this.
computer we're using for this.
to do it now,
Right.
Paul. Just like
Yeah,
disconnect.
I'm going to change the network type. You'll be fine.
This is why we listen to tech podcasts, and this is why we're involved in technology. It's things like this that are exciting, and I know genuinely that I'm excited by learning this operating system. And I got a message on Twitter, and it was a valid point. He goes, it was criticism, but it wasn't. And the guy said, how have
He
you
said,
not?
You stupid dick.
Yeah, you're an idiot. He's like, how are you not an insider? How have you not been using the beta? And my point is, Paul uses the beta every day.
I don't swirl.
Yeah. I don't want to use the beta because I actually want to have a real world experience. I want to be the layman. I want to have a layman's point of view as far as using this on day one and the troubles that I'm going through and the excitement I'm going through with using this. I want to go through being a normal person and just getting this and installing it. And that's very
Right.
difficult to do when you're running a beta for 6 months and you're getting features slowly rolled out and you're getting bug fixes slowly rolled out. If I had this 6 months ago, I probably would have a very different point of view than today. With a lot of these features, I wouldn't be talking about these features because I would have either learned to accept that this is what it is, or I would have fixed them and forgot about it. The fact that I'm dealing with everything at one shot plays a big part into having a natural reaction to things. I don't run betas on my Mac either. I hate doing that because you your point of view changes. It's fine to use it every now and then as a test, but to use it every day, you're never going to have a real reaction to it. It gets hard.
I want to let you know something. You might have just fixed an issue on my wife's computer.
Look at that. I'm not an idiot after all.
Well, I don't get too ahead of yourself, but it's no. I mean that's great. It's interesting.
But it's these little things, that we're discovering and we're finding. The other thing that was interesting is that you can't turn off like Windows Defender.
No, sure.
You can't. You can if you go into like, the admin settings and services and things like even in services you can't shut off Defender. Before there was like an automatic, manual, or disable. You can't do that. It's grayed out. So you have to go into another setting.
Yeah.
And
Right,
manually, modify some of these.
Why would you
services.
turn it off though?
Because you're
me.
And
Okay. I mean, obviously,
you're
you
out
could
of your
install
mind.
a third-party product and would disable it.
yeah, so you could install a third party and it'll disable it.
Yeah.
There's also some complaints from people saying that after they installed the third party and it disabled it, when they uninstalled the third party application, they couldn't re-enable Defender. I don't know if these are people that manually did what I did to disable it. Like I disable Firewall. I disabled the Firewall on some of these because I can't run it if I have IP audio. It interferes with it. So I disable Firewall. I disable Defender. I disable a lot of these things. What is a Smart Screen? I disable. I don't really need it because I know this is, on its own little internet, some of these machines. It's on an intranet, and
Right. You're not downloading files.
I'm not downloading anything. I'm not downloading, funpcgames.exe,
Sure.
which I think everybody should go and download that right now.
Which I was going to say sounds like it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I don't know why you're losing out on that,
Yeah.
but okay.
Fun desktop cuddly.exe.
Sure. Happy cats.
Happy Cats, yeah. What was that purple thing that used to come and like dance on your desktop? Anybody remember that thing? It was
Yeah,
like the
it was
epitome of.
It was an Ultimate Extra, wasn't it? Like a little animated. Yeah, what the hell was that? I know
Yeah,
what you're
what
talking
was
about.
it? Guys, you know what it is. It was like a purple hippo. And that was like the end. At that point, just burn this machine. You're never fixing it. When you get that dancing thing, that ActiveX dancing hippo on your desktop, It's over for you, my friend.
Nice.
The game has been lost.
Give it up. Yeah. Right time to use a Mac.
Yeah. Oh God. So overall, we're gonna be talking about this for the next couple of weeks. I really need to figure out how to fix this driver issue because I really want to make this Lenovo
Yeah.
a piece in my studio that I could always go to for Windows 10 stuff. And I'm losing my mind. I sent feedback to the company, and they pretty much said the last update from them was in May, and they're like, well, we're not working on it because Windows isn't finalized, and when Windows is finalized, we'll start working on it. But the reality is, it's not a priority for us at this time because most of their users are using, older machines. So
Right.
I'm sure it's going to be here within the next month or so, but I want it now.
Yeah.
Why can't I have it now? I went crazy, Paul. I was trying to, rip the certification, like the certified signature stuff from the driver.
The certificate?
What is it? The certification signature?
Certificate?
No, isn't it is it the certificate signature or certification signature?
I don't know.
Whatever it is in the driver. I was trying to rip it, trying to modify it.
Certificate?
Certificate. Listen, I fixed your
know.
wife's computer.
You did. I know. I'm excited to go try this on another computer now, but
Guys, I want to hear your feedback. Send us emails, guysfromqueens@gmail.com. Tweet me, tweet Paul. I want to hear positive. I want to hear negative. I want to hear your realistic issues. The problems that you're having. But like realistically, don't tell me that you hate the the.
A lot of these are very
curvature.
specific, though. A lot of it's very specific, and some of these are just hard to.
Okay, you want to know a stupid thing that bothers me about Windows? I'll tell you, this is the dumbest thing. If I drag an icon, if I make a shortcut to an icon on my desktop, why do I have that stupid arrow in the corner?
Yeah,
Why?
you can turn that off.
Where?
I don't even remember.
You know
It's
what
a
I mean?
shortcut.
Like you could turn it off. There are applications
Can
that turn it off.
It's probably in the File Explorer settings.
But why is it even there? Like, why do you need that stupid short corner?
Well, because it's not a real file. It's a
Hate
it's a
it.
shortcut to a file. I know.
I mean, Skype has that, and Skype is putting it there. The only thing on my desktop that doesn't have it is a recycling bin.
Well, that's a special folder.
Yeah. Well, special folders.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, I know.
I mean,
I
it's just-
know. Hold on, I'm gonna find this. I think it's probably in folder options.
Is it in folder
It's-
options?
I'm guessing.
I'm gonna
You
do it
used to
on
be able- I think it was. You know what? I think he used to use PowerToy.
Yeah, that's how you did it.
Remember
It was,
PowerToy
yeah,
to get rid of it? Yeah.
it was.
So let's see. But let me see if it's in here. Yeah, there's a term for that. It's like an overlay.
It's the term is.
It's the shortcut
Stupid.
overlay.
Is that what it is?
I
Is
think
it?
that's
Is that what it's called?
I don't see it in here though. Maybe it's not in here. I think this was a PowerToy before. So let's see. Shortcut overlay from icons.
You're gonna get like
How to
50
remove
applications.
yeah. How to remove the Windows 7 shortcut icon arrow overlay, which should be any version of Windows, really.
Yeah, it's all.
A long way. Oh, it's a regedit thing.
Yeah. See,
Shell icon. Oh god, this is terrible.
how terrible is that?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. So the short way though is you can. So in other words, PowerToys has come and gone, but other people have made tools like the Ultimate Windows Tweaker, and one of them is remove. You can remove. One of the many tweaks you can do is. So you're welcome to
So what I suggest everybody does
do that. I guess
You know that website
Jeez.
Viper something, Viper XP? This guy would list all the critical files that it was like a minimalist.
You could mess it up with.
You could totally shut down everything in Windows. I suggest everybody go there and shut off everything, like printer. If you don't have a printer, shut down printer. Shut down fax. That's what I do.
Yeah. You don't want that stuff in there.
Yeah, shut it all off. It's using
It is weird.
1
So,
kilobyte of system resources.
Here's a semi-modern example of this kind of mentality, right? When Office 2013 came out, of course, they offered it in the old-fashioned way. You could buy it in a box or online probably, and you would license it to one computer. And you could, when you ran setup for that application, it was the old style of setup, and you could sit there and you could check off all the parts of Office you wanted, right? So if you only wanted like Word and OneNote, but you didn't want Outlook or PowerPoint or whatever, you could uncheck those, and it would only install the stuff you wanted because people are kind of compulsive and anal retentive or whatever. But the other thing that happened with Office 2013 is they have this click to run installer, which is what you get when you install it off of Office 365. In Office 365, when you install Office 2013, or now Office 2016, it blows the whole thing down on your computer. And this freaked people out. They're like, "What are you doing?" Like, I always don't install, Outlook or whatever. Like, I don't want all of this stuff. And then you ask them, well, okay, well, but how does it hurt you being on the disk? Like, I don't understand. It takes up space. And they're like, well, how much space do you think it takes up? I mean, seriously. And like, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but because of the way that Office applications share data, share files, share DLLs and so forth, if you actually just removed Outlook, the savings would be in like the low megabytes. Like it's like not quite kilobytes, but it's like 11 megabytes or something.
Yeah.
It's like the size of an MP3 file. Like people think they're kind of overly compulsive saving space on the disk or whatever for some reason, but removing individual Office applications doesn't save anything at all. Not really. Not real world terms.
In a real world, yeah.
But this is the stuff we do. We're compulsive and
Yeah.
stupid and stuff.
Also, if you want to be compulsive, you could still do. Somebody was asking me like, he's like, "Oh, did you turn off all animation in Windows like you normally do?" You could still do it. You could still turn off all animation. You can't make the taskbar look like Windows XP, but you could make it smaller. You okay?
You reminded me of defrag, and I thought, surely defrag is gone. No, it's still in there.
It's well, you don't have to if you do. If you have an SSD.
You don't have to. You can't. I mean, you shouldn't. It will. In fact, it should block you from doing it. You could harm your SSD by running defrag on it.
You could actually run it still. You could actually run a defrag on. I mean, it has trim, right? Does it do automatic trim?
Oh, that's what. Well, right. It should. I mean, what I'm saying is, depending on the type you have, I mean, you want to be careful with that. I assume Windows is smart enough to know if you have trim, and then will act accordingly. But I mean, I think in the early days of SSDs, people who were, because we would run these things manually like jerks and sit there and watch the, the little squares,
and it feels good, when you see the defrag
you feel like
working.
You're doing something. Yeah.
It feels so much faster. It's like putting a spoiler on a Honda Civic. You got 20 more horsepower. You're just flying down the road.
Here's what you really just did. You added 50 pounds of weight to your car. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Idiot.
But you can, if you want to turn off animation, let's say you have a slower machine and a crappier video card. You can turn off all the animation. If you don't like the fat taskbar on the bottom, guess what? You can make it smaller. You could do all of that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, right-click on the taskbar and then go to Properties, and then you could just fiddle around there. If you don't want it to combine, if you don't like the combination, you could say never combine or only combine when full. These things are still there.
Oh, yeah.
It's all
some of
there.
this stuff has been around forever. I mean, if you go into like advanced system settings, it's hilarious. The stuff you're talking about is like the performance settings. Animate controls and elements inside Windows. Animate windows when minimizing and maximizing. Animations in the taskbar. Enable peak. Like this is stuff that's been a lot of that now. Peaks.
Is arrow still there? I want to see arrow, but I wanted like grayed out.
Yeah, it's apparently not in the Windows UI, but you can still remove it if you want to run a third-party utility.
Yeah, so it's all there.
Screw with the rigid. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. Paul, let's do a throwback if you want. Let's do a throwback, or we could continue it on the bonus show. We could do a small 15-minute bonus show, following the show, and just continue the show on there. Whatever you want to do. Go to our website, gfknetwork.com. Guys, send us your messages. I want to hear what your experience is like. A lot of people have been helping me out. I really appreciate it. A lot of the viewers, a lot of people on Twitter have been tweeting me. You could tweet me at Andrew Zarin. Of course, you could Paul tweet.
Yep.
You could tweet Paul at The Rot. You have a very busy couple of weeks coming up. You're in France. I want to hear all about Lyon. I want to hear about... I have no idea how you're on vacation when this is happening. I can't even imagine what you're going through right now. Working and eating and drinking and spending time with your family. So we'll talk about that in the bonus show. Hey, guys, if you want access to these bonus shows and if you want to help us out, you could send us a little tip on Patreon. Patreon.com/whatthetech. That's our bonus show. It's only available there. We do the show live. If you're watching live, it's live for you. You can watch it. If you can't watch it live and you want to go and watch it on YouTube or on Patreon, you got to tip us. And we record a bonus show every week, and we post it on Patreon. And your tips really go a long way because every time we need to do something here in the studio, obviously it helps us out. It keeps us going, and we keep the show limited with the ads. Patreon.com/whatthetech. Guys, subscribe to the podcast. We're everywhere podcasts are available, except for a Windows Phone, because we have a very difficult time finding ourselves on Windows Phone, apparently. And I need to talk to someone, and I have no idea who. That person no longer exists. Rob Greenlee, you were a lifesaver, a true gentleman, and a man that really kept it going on Windows Phone, a podcast on Windows Phone, and now I don't know what's happening there. So, Rob, we miss you. I miss you so much, Rob.
Yep.
I miss you, Rob. Please, help. Go to our website, jfknetwork.com, and we'll see you all next week. Take care.